Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Linda's Sue Plants for You. Today I bring you the long-awaited dining room tour. I'm going to do this tour in two parts, and not necessarily because I have such an enormous amount of plants, but what I do have, I want to go into a little bit of in-depth discussion about. Many of you have commented to me that you really like my videos because you always learn something, so I am just thrilled to hear that and to know that I've helped someone be able to care for their plant babies. And so let's get started right away. And just want to let you know I'm going to be doing this in two parts, just a reminder. However, they're going to be following one right after another, so don't despair. For those of you that let me know that you really like the long videos, this is going to be plenty long enough on its own, and then part two will be following immediately after, so that you can go right into part two. You don't have to wait till later today or tomorrow. I will be downloading those both at the same time. So they probably will appear maybe, I don't know, about an hour apart, because it takes that long to download them or upload them. Whatever the proper term is, I'm not sure, but you all know what I mean, okay? Alright, so let's get started. This is, as I said, my dining room. To begin with, I want to explain this odd layout. Some of you might be thinking, why is that light so far over off of the table? Well, there's a good reason for that. You know, for many years, I was it when it came to the holidays. I loved having my family over. We had a lot of people. At one time I fit as many as 27 people in this room. We had 2 tables set up, and that was for Thanksgiving. And at that time in our life, we never really thought much about the fact that that was going to change someday. Well, life happens. Circumstances were such that the last 4 or 5 years I have not been able to do that anymore. And so one of the things is we had centered that light over our table with the idea, and I'm going to get into the room here, and very slowly so that I don't make anyone dizzy, hopefully. On this wall, this originally was supposed to be in that corner where you see that black shelf, and in this corner, that was going to be built-in corner shelves to house my antique dishes. And in the middle of that was going to be a buffet with drawers that I could keep my antique linens and tablecloths and napkins and pot warmers and things in. Well, those things are all in my attic, and I always had to bring them down every year, and it was a lot of extra work. So that was the plan. In fact, you can see up in the top, maybe, where we have outlets that we built, that we put in with the idea that I would have a light going down through my china cabinets. But again, that did not work out the way we thought it was going to, so we are using the space for the way things are now, and I'm fine with that. But I kind of just wanted to explain that, because I've had people ask me, why is your light not in the middle of your table? Now, that being said, if I was able to easily move that, I would actually take down that chandelier and I would put up a flush ceiling fixture in the middle of the room, and then it wouldn't matter where I put anything. But because we have cedar plank ceilings, that would leave a really unsightly hole where that one is in order to accommodate. So we're still discussing that And there's a possibility we may try to do something there, but in the meantime, that's that. Okay. I'm gonna try to move around here. And okay. Starting on this wall and in this corner is my, or I should say are my planters that are filled with my Hoya carnosa rubra, also known as the Crimson Princess. I purchased one plant in a hanging basket and it was packed full. It needed to be put in a bigger pot or repotted it, and I do have some space left for hanging, but I have those earmarked for something else. So I thought I would try it under this LED light, which my husband installed for me. And I put them in these pots that are, they were white years ago. I purchased those at a rummage sale for $5, and they're really nice pots. They're very heavy. And I painted them to match my decor at the time. They were canisters for flour, sugar, and salt, and they had copper tops on them. So what I did is I put the plants, I repotted these into nursery pots that would fit inside of there, a little above the bottom, so it had some room for drainage. And because these plants don't like a lot of water, I'm hoping that the way that setup is going to work for me. And as you can see, they're really very pretty plants. They've got good color. I mean, they're healthy. I do have another one of these plants in my living room. Most of you have seen that. And it's got a lot of color, a lot of pink and a lot of burgundy or crimson. And that's what I'm hoping for these. I'm hoping to get that same color in here. Okay, so moving along. These are my, I don't know if you can see them, and I don't know if it even matters, but these are my dishes that I got from, nope, you can't see them with that reflection. My apologies. Those dishes are my husband brought home from Italy, and so I have them in there. So pretty. Okay, the next plant we have here is, it's either a Black Knight or Black Prince. And I did finally get the answer to that, and my apologies, I forgot what the answer was. What I do know is it is a succulent, and it's beautiful, and it's growing like crazy. And I know that the difference between the Black Prince and the Black Knight is one of them has these pointed leaves, the other ones are more rounded. And one of them is, they're wider, and one is more narrow, but I can never remember which one it is that I have. And I'm sorry about that, but that's what that is. And you can see how long it is. And I've lost some of the leaves on the stems going down, which made me kind of sad. That was my own fault. That was lack of watering, not paying attention. But either way, it's kind of a quirky looking thing, and I think it's kind of fun. The basket that it's in, we purchased at a thrift store, and that handle, that was a handle that my husband removed and shaped it into a heart and reattached it. I thought that was so pretty. And then he welded that basket to this, I believe this was from an old railing, porch railing. And then at the bottom, for those of you that are into old things and antiques, you'll hopefully appreciate this. This is an old it's either a fan stand or a lamp stand. I can't remember. We left it the way it was because we really loved the detail and the patina that's currently on it. And it actually goes with my color scheme in here too, with that kind of burgundy look. But just look at the detail of things that they made years ago. They sure did put a lot of time and effort and thought into things that they did. I really miss that. Nowadays, if you go to buy a floor lamp, they're usually a piece of brass or something similar with a weight inside and underneath it to keep it from tipping over, and boy, they just nothing like they were years ago. And that old worn out high chair that you see next to it, that was actually my daughter's, and she is 43 years old. So that's how old that is. And that was old when we got it, by the way. I purchased that used. And my grandchildren and now great-grandson is now using it. So it's really, really gotten a lot of wear. And then moving up to my philodendron. I love heartleaf philodendrons. They're a very classic plant. Years ago, before we had access to all the thousands of plants we have nowadays, this was a staple in everyone's house who collected plants. It was very easy to get, very easy to grow, and pretty much everyone had one. So when they first came back out with these, I wasn't super excited just because of the history behind it. It was like, it's a philodendron, you know. But they grew on me again, and I'm really, really liking this plant again. I have it in a copper pot. And for a while, I was having problems keeping this thing alive, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. Well, then I remembered, years ago, I remember hearing that plants do not like copper, and that it will kill them. So I took the pot that it's in, and it's in a nursery pot inside of a sour cream container. I cut that down to fit in there to keep it away from the copper. I think what was happening is I was watering the plant, and whatever water drained out of the pot was getting sucked back up along with the copper. Because since I put it in that extra liner there, and it's no longer touching the bottom of the pot, so even if water does get down in there, it's not soaking it back up, and then the plant started to take off again. So I'm pretty sure that's what the problem was. So I'm very glad I figured that out. And as you can see, I have another one over there, separated by my beautiful elephant picture. Okay, and moving to the next corner. Well, this is my husband's computer and his another one of his creations. He took an old sewing machine, treadle sewing machine, and some red oak flooring, and made a scalloped edge, and he put that all together and made himself a tabletop for his computer, and it fits very nicely in our room. And then in this corner we have the Dracaena marginata. Now, I have to tell you folks, I'm not sure why I bought this plant. I had never really been a big fan of these plants. I think they're okay. And so for me to own one is kind of odd. But I think what might have happened, if I remember correctly, I think it was one of those dead of winter, I need to go and buy a plant, couldn't find anything. I'm not leaving the store without something. And I knew these were easy to grow and it was fairly cheap. It was like in a 2 or 3 inch pot. And it's grown like crazy since then. And that was just last winter. So there she is. I'm probably going to end up giving that to either my daughter or granddaughter at some point. But for now, she lives here. And then underneath, you can see the stand that it's sitting on. Let's see if I can get over there. These are 2 different items here. This is a stand in itself with a plate that I got from the thrift store, and I set that on there because that stand is not there's holes in it, so it doesn't, it's not real strong, I don't think. So I put that plate in there for extra measure. And then underneath is a stand, another stand that my husband brought home from somewhere. He knows what, he's got good taste, I think. And we both kind of have the same taste when it comes to decor, so that's good. And I'm not going to be leaving this way. I just have it here for now, but I thought it looked okay together. But this whole corner here is something that I'm going to be working on probably through the winter. Again, I'm just not happy with this setup here. I'm not happy with the way this looks, and I really want to do something different here, but I'm just not sure what yet. I think one of the things that's going to happen is we're going to be incorporating some lighting on these shelves. And my friend Suzette from Suzette's Gardens actually sent me to a website where they have strip LED lighting, which I thought was really neat. And I'm going to be researching that and see how that will work, because I think she said, and I think the ad said, that you can make them, they come with connectors and you can make them whatever size you want, and then they can attach up under these shelves. So that might be the answer for this area, and if and when that happens, I'll be able to put a lot more plants here. Right now, as you will see as we move through the room, it just does not have the light that it needs. And let me see if I can zoom out here. Here we go. So, and down there, that houses my my many cookbooks. So I did think about getting rid of the shelf at one point, but then when I remembered about my cookbooks, I thought, no, then I got to find a place to put those. And you know, we got this shelf at a rummage sale many, many years ago for $5. It was red, I believe. And my husband painted it, and he put those, I think they're brass grating, some kind of metal grating in there, diamond grating, to kind of hide the books a little bit and make it look a little better. It had those plastic, those goldish orange plastic things in there from like the 50s or 60s, and I've never liked those, so those had to go. But anyway, as you can see, there's another plant back there. It is the asparagus spring rye, and it is doing very, very well. I purchased that this past summer, and that too was in a very tiny pot, and I had it out on my porch. And those of you that know me know that I have never put plants outside in the summer and then brought them in. It's always been a rule of mine to never ever do that. But I've been encouraged and convinced by many on YouTube who do it every year without problems. So I'm trying it this year because I just didn't have the heart to let this one go. And it does have very deep green color. The lighting is kind of off. You can't really see the true color of this through the camera lens. And so I apologize for that. And then back there you can see I've got some cuttings, Sansevieria and a couple other things going on there that I'm making for my daughter. And on the top I've got a golden pothos that's not so golden, and I just started rooting her a while ago. She's got one brown leaf, but she does have some new leaves coming through, so we're just going to keep that growing. I'm rooting that for my granddaughter as well, or my granddaughter's friend, I'm not sure which. She has a friend who wants to have plants very, very badly, and she loves hanging plants, but she has little children and what have you, and they just don't have the budget for it. So my granddaughter offered my services, which is fine. I love sharing my plants with people, so I'm trying to make some cuttings for her. And then that beautiful plate is from Italy. That is another one of my things that I am not willing to part with. So, and of course you can see my little Ellies, my little elephants. This is also my rooting station, more or less. I mean, I root things in my kitchen, above my sink as well. But for those plants that, when you root in water and you don't want as much light, I do those here pretty successfully. And that's why you're looking at the empty jar there. And another plate from Italy. And as you can see, I've got the grape theme going on in my wine rack with no wine in it. When I did this room years ago, I did it with the Tuscan theme, and honestly I would like to redo it with a coffee theme and a coffee cafe colors, and maybe someday I will get around to doing that, but for right now it's just not happening. Alright, I am going to have to move. Let me just show you here this light. And I apologize for the quality here. We've had nothing but pouring rain for days, and I just can't wait for the sun to come out. I wanted to get this video in, so please be patient with the lighting in here. Alright, I'm going to put this on pause, and I'm going to move this light so that you can view my other plants better. Alright, and hopefully you can see this okay. This is my strawberry begonia. This plant I got at Lowe's last winter. It was in a 6-inch hanging basket, and it had about 20 little leaves that maybe were about 1 inch around, and a couple little strands hanging down, and it was waterlogged, and I picked it up and put it down several times, and something just kept telling me to grab it and take it home, and I thought, okay, I'm going to look at the price. Well, the price was $3, $3 or $3.50. So I thought, you know, for that price, I can't not get it. So I purchased it, and I brought it home and put it in my south window, and as you can see, it is almost down to the floor. I've also taken cuttings from this plant, and my granddaughter has one in her living room now from this plant that is close to the same size as this one. That's how fast it grew. I also have another one that I'm starting now in my living room in that same window from this same plant for my granddaughter's friend, and I'm hoping it'll grow just as fast as these did. And the other little bit of information I want to give you about this is although it's called a strawberry begonia, it's not actually a begonia. I'll see if I can get the name of it on here if you can read it. It's kind of difficult to pronounce. It looks like it says Saxifraga stolonifera. I hope that's how it's pronounced. If not, my apologies. I'm not a horticulturist and I'm not a botanist. So I, along with others, do the best that I can when it comes to pronouncing those names. This stand that houses this beautiful plant is another one of my husband's creations. It is several parts to it that came from several different thrift stores. And he just welded them together and attached them again to one of those wrought iron poles. And the bottom of that, oh yeah, this is the one that I believe, yep, this is the one that was the antique fan base. That first one I showed you, I believe, was a lamp base. But how neat is that, isn't it? I mean, I know there's a lot of you out there, especially young people, that are very much into the, the clean lined look, and that's very relaxing, and that's a very nice look in itself. But it's not for everyone. Some of us like the more, I don't know, detailed. Some people call it clutter, but so be it. And I like clutter, but I love the detail of things that were made years ago, like the old buildings. When I go downtown and I see the structure and what it must have taken back then for the men and women, and probably just men at that time, to build those buildings. It's just amazing to me. So, and my husband feels the same way. So we kind of, we try to rescue what we can from that era, is where I'm going with that. Anyways, enough about my begonia. As much as I love to stare at her, we need to move on. Up here you're going to see my coleus. Now, many of you have seen that first video I did. Back in spring, I purchased two little pieces of coleus, or I believe it was two pieces in one pot. I think it was like a 4 or 6 inch pot, and the plants were about 5 inches tall, but I knew that I could get them to grow up like this, so I brought them home, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna grow those in the house. Many years ago, I had, actually my very first plant was a coleus such as this. I got it at a church fair. It was at the end of the day, and it was dying. It was in a Dixie cup, and some little old lady was selling them for 25 or 50. I think they were originally 50 cents, and she had it marked down to 25 cents because it was the end of the day and it was dying. And I brought it home, and I stuck it in my east window where I lived at the time, and I watered it, and I wasn't sure what to expect. But the next morning I got up and I went out in my hallway, and lo and behold, she perked up. She looked like nothing had ever been wrong with her, and I got so extremely excited that I brought this plant back to life, and I nurtured her into a 5 foot tall, 4 foot wide plant growing up a trellis. Unfortunately, I lost her during a winter move, and that was a very sad day for me because I had that plant for many, many years. And I don't know if you're going to see this or be able to see or appreciate the true color that we've got going on here, because we have no light today other than the artificial light, and that kind of tends to skew things a little bit, but you can see how thick and big she is. And she's growing up a trellis. There's the top of it. And up under my curtain. So it won't be long before I'm going to have to find a new home for her. Actually, it's probably going to be very, very soon. And I may be turning her into a floor plant. And then I'll have to find something else to put here. This seems to be the best spot in the house. And this, my friend, is an east window. And I can't say enough about east windows for plants. You know, we talk about southern windows all the time, yet many people have stated how they have to, you know, pull their shades or pull their shears or do something in the summer because the light is so intense. Well, I have found that in the east window I don't have to do that because it's absolutely perfect light from almost all of my plants. By the way, my spider plant and my purple passion love my east window in my laundry room. Okay, I'm going to catch these couple plants. This one, I still do not know what this is. And it looks like it's declining. I have looked and looked at it to make sure it doesn't have any bugs. And I don't see anything. But it looks like it's got a problem. And if you guys watched when I put this, tied this to this bamboo, when I first got this plant, it was just a small piece, about 1 inch tall and 3 inches around. And it wouldn't grow and wouldn't grow, and then I found out it had mealybugs. So I got rid of the mealybugs and watered it, and within weeks, it took off like crazy. And it kept growing and growing and growing. So I put this bamboo support in there and tied it to that. And then about 2 weeks later, I noticed it started looking not so good again. And I have gone over it with a fine-tooth comb. I see nothing wrong. So I don't know what's happening to it. And the even bigger question is, I don't know what it is. I don't know what this plant is. I asked on my last video. I was so hoping someone would be able to identify it for me. But I know that there aren't near as many succulent people out there as there are tropical houseplant people. So I guess I'm not surprised that nobody left a comment. But I sure hope somebody watching this will see this video and be able to tell me what this is. I'd like to think it's from the jade family, but I honestly don't know. I just don't know. Okay, so down here I have a cutting of my Philodendron Brazil, which is doing pretty good. Still struggling a little bit, but it's getting there. I got this in a plant swap along with a bunch of other plants from my friend Suzette from Suzette's Gardens. And just to want to make a point of saying, when we did the plant swap, it was so ridiculously hot for days and days, and I do believe that played a part in some of the plants. When I got them, they were even though she had them wrapped beautifully with the, you know, everything was very professional, as she always is. But that heat just did a number on everybody's plants, actually. But it's doing okay, and it's going to come back. All right, and then this plant is my my Aglaonema, one of them. I had this in my living room, and she was doing so good in there, and then all of a sudden, she too started having issues. I don't know what it is. I'm thinking it might be because we did have a cold snap, and she was near the front door that was being opened and closed a lot. I'm not sure, but I moved her in here just to give her a second chance at life. And again, this is not really one of my super favorite plants. It's not like I would be heartbroken if she didn't make it, but I think she's kind of pretty, and I bought her for the color. I just wanted to get some color in here, and as you can see, she's getting a flower, so she can't be too unhappy, I guess. Alright. And then moving on, my string of pearls. This plant, I would be definitely heartbroken if something happened to it. It's very full, very healthy. As you can see, the pearls on it are in excellent condition. And again, she's an east window. South window works too. The key to these plants I'm going to explain in a minute, because I have another one that I'm going to show you, and then you'll understand what I'm talking about. But isn't she pretty? I just love her. So healthy. So healthy. And I have one here that I am starting cuttings. I have tried to do cuttings on these with, you know, pulling the stem, pulling the little pearls off and sticking the stem in the soil. And I'm not saying I won't ever do it that way again, but I have better luck just wrapping them around the top of the soil and keeping that soil moist. That seems to be the my most successful way of propagating these plants. So I'm probably going to stick to that for a while. And then last but not least on this shelf is my lipstick plant. And I'm going to see if I can get around here, around this lamp. And again, folks, the lighting in here isn't real great, so I have this floor lamp that I am trying to spotlight what I'm talking about so you can get a better view of the plant. So if it's a little clumsy, that's why. This is one of my lipstick plants. She's got a little bit of issues going on, but it's not her fault. It's my fault. I had her behind another plant that excuse me, was kind of hiding her, and I just forgot to water her one time. And I don't water her often as it is. So when I forgot to water her, yeah, she really went dry. However, when I did water her and I caught myself, she thanked me by giving me some flowers. Hopefully you can see that. So pretty. And there are some more on there as well. So she is, oh, I can't get at them right now, but I guess if you can just have to trust me on that. There are more flowers on her. More little lipstick flowers. Okay. All right, I am going to close out this video for now. This is part 1 of my Fall 2019 dining room tour. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do part 2, and I'm going to do that immediately following this one. So for those of you who really love long videos, and I know some of you do, don't fret, because part 2 is going to be right next to this one. So when this one ends, you can go fill up your drink of choice, whether it's coffee or hot chocolate or tea or whatever it might be. Go get your snack and your drink and come right back and get settled in because part 2 is going to be right behind it. For those of you who do not like long videos and you might want to see part 2 at a later date, you'll be able to mark that and go back to see that. And that's really my purpose for doing that. In addition to that, these videos, when we upload them to the computer or from the, at least for me, from the editing program over to YouTube, they take forever. A 40-minute video is like 3 hours. So yeah, I don't like to do the real long, and we're already long on this one. So, all right, when we come back, we're going to see and talk about my begonias, among other things. We're going to talk about my new IKEA shelves and what I did on the other side of the room. So do come back and let me show you what's going on. Thank you very much. Bye now.